Okay, awesome. It looks like we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome. So great to see you all. We will get started in just about a minute. We just want to make sure everybody has some time to get settled into this live stream. And before we get started, oh, it's so great to see you all. Hello, hello. And if you're watching today, go ahead and introduce yourself in the live chat. We love to see where people are watching from and what they're interested in. So go ahead and say hi. We would love to hear from you, but we'll get started in just about a minute or so, and we'll just give everybody some time to settle in here. This would be a good time to go get a drink of water because we are going to get ready for a really, really exciting chat in just a minute. Okay, excellent. Alrighty, it looks like a few more folks are popping in. So if you're just hearing this, we will get started in about a minute or two. We're just giving everyone some time to get settled in and whatnot, but I just want to say welcome. And you know, if you can't hear me for whatever reason, let me know that as well, and we will see what we can do to fix whatever problems we may have. But also go ahead and say hi in the chat. We love to see where folks are watching from and whatnot. Okay, so it is about a minute past. Let's just go ahead and officially get started. Hi, everyone, officially. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Seymour Marine Discovery Center's Labside Chat. My name is Jen Cormier, and I am the Visitor Programs Manager at the Seymour Center, and I'll be your host today. And so today's Labside Chat is a great opportunity to have a short, engaging discussion with a scientist from UC Santa Cruz Long Marine Lab or Institute of Marine Sciences. And in this virtual world, we are just so excited to continue to show how scientific research plays a role in the conservation of the world's oceans. Well, most of us are sheltering in place or keeping our social distance. So we're so excited to bring this program to you today. And today's chat will be so awesome and so incredible because I have the pleasure of talking to and asking questions to Dr. Roxanne Beltran. And Roxanne is just so awesome. So I'm so excited for this chat today. But before we dive into the meat of the chat, I just want to give a big, big thank you to everyone who submitted questions in advance for Roxanne. You all submitted great questions. So thank you so much. And hopefully Roxanne and I will be able to get to those today. Additionally, if you have any questions at all during the conversation, you are more than welcome to ask them live too. So use the live chat feature and we'll get to those questions as well. But Dr. Roxanne Beltran is an assistant professor at UC Santa Cruz in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology department. And we will be diving into their incredible research about weddell seals, elephant seals, field courses, all of the above, and I'm so excited about it. But Roxanne, thank you so much for being here today. It is an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me, Jen. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. And Roxanne, I am so excited to talk to you because I know so much of your research and your work is out in the field and outdoors. And I'm just curious, when have you always been interested in nature and going outside? Is this a new thing, or is this something that's always been a part of you? It's just your love for biology and conservation and nature.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I definitely wasn't drawn to nature as a kid. I was super into sports. I wanted to play soccer in college. That was like my life goal. So I spent a lot of time on soccer fields all over the state of California, but not a whole lot of time outside. It really wasn't until I got to college and saw the campus at UC Santa Cruz. I went on the soccer field, which if you've ever seen it, just completely overlooks the Monterey Bay, that I realized there was something more to nature that I needed to find out more about. And it was actually field courses at UC Santa Cruz that really drew me to nature and taught me that I could have a career being a field biologist. And yeah, the rest is history.
Oh, that's so amazing. And so you did your undergraduate degree at UC Santa Cruz, is that right?
That's right.
And so you did your field course there, which it sounds like was kind of like the spark into getting into nature, which is really incredible. And so where did you go after UC Santa Cruz? And where did you go after in your educational path to where you are now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I finished at UC Santa Cruz in 2013, and then I went to University of Alaska to get my master's degree. My advisor there had just gotten a big grant to study Weddell seals in Antarctica, and that just sounded completely amazing and completely rugged and adventurous. So I went up there for a master's program, and I liked it so much that I stayed for a PhD. So I spent about 5 years in Alaska on and off. And then came back here just 2 years ago for a postdoc at UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and now you're here as an assistant professor at UC Santa Cruz, which is very, very exciting. And so how did you know that working with marine mammals like Weddell seals was your thing? Like, where did that love was first born?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story. When I was in college, I had a series of work study jobs, including at the Seymour Center, to pay for college. And there was one day that I was walking through the Long Marine Lab building, and there was a piece of paper on one of the windows that said, "Looking for a dog sitter." And I was like, yes, this is perfect. You know, I'll dog sit, I'll make some money, it'll help me. And the person that was looking for a dog sitter was Guy Oliver, who was an elephant seal researcher. And that, you know, ended with me getting in touch with Colleen Reichmuth and working at the Pinniped Lab. And that was really the first time that I had ever considered studying or working with or learning about marine mammals. And just getting to know those individuals. I mean, it's incredible. You can go to the beach anywhere and see marine mammals, and they're just so fundamentally interesting. Like, it just gives you this visceral sense of like wonder, what's going on with these animals, what are they doing? But when you work closely with them, when you train them, it's just a completely different experience where you get to know individual animals. You get to know their preferences and their perks and their, you know, the things they love and the things they totally don't love. And that to me brought marine mammals into the realm of my understanding, and I connected with them in a way that made me want to study them for my career.
That's amazing. So what I learned from that is that, you know, do not hesitate to grab a flyer looking for an odd job, because who knows, that may lead you down a whole new career and a new career path. So that's absolutely amazing. So I know, so you took a field course when you were at UC Santa Cruz, and I know that you're really, really passionate about field courses, and then also now in your new role, bringing students outside and learning outside and having undergraduates engaged in these field courses. And so didn't you just lead a study that looked at the effects of field courses? You did? Yeah. What did you find there? Because I felt like that was really interesting.
Yeah, thanks. It was an interesting experience for me, you know, having the background of being in field courses at UC Santa Cruz and feeling really personally invested in the role that they had in my career, in trying to figure out whether that was true for other students as well. Anyone who's taught a field course or been in a field course or really done any sort of science outside knows that it's just so interesting and engaging, and it can really motivate you to you know, focus more in school and be more motivated in classes. And so I worked with a bunch of people at UC Santa Cruz, including a bunch of the instructors of my field course in college, to study students and to actually ask them, you know, how comfortable they felt with certain parts of science during these classes or in different classes. And we learned that field courses are a really powerful tool for helping to engage and retain students in science at the undergraduate level. So if we can, for example, teach basic biology, not by having students read a textbook, but by bringing students into the outdoors and having them learn those things themselves and having them make, you know, textbook figures of their own, that can be a really compelling way to help students succeed. So we were really excited with that result.
Oh, that is so awesome to hear. And I'm so glad that you were leading the effort on that and working with so many incredible people to publish all of that. So that's so incredible. So thank you. And so Roxanne, I was doing some snooping on your website, because who wouldn't? It's amazing. And so according to your website, or a place so I think it was according to your website, you described yourself as a physiological ecologist. And so can you break that down a little bit more and help me understand what exactly that means?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still a term that I go back and forth with. I'm like, am I an ecologist? Am I a physiologist? Do I study animal behavior? And I think the answer is that to do good science, you have to do lots of different things and be able to tie them together really well. And so that's what I'm constantly trying to do. Most of my research focuses on animal behavior, measuring animal behavior, trying to figure out why animals make the decisions that they do. Like, why do elephant seals go, thousands of kilometers into the middle of the ocean to find food? When do they decide to come back? What are they doing that whole time? And that animal behavior study, I think, is best through the lens of physiology, so what the animal is experiencing in its own body, and ecology, what the animal is experiencing outside of its body. And by combining those two things, I think it really helps to understand why animals are making the decisions that they are, especially for marine mammals that are, difficult to observe when they're out in the middle of the ocean diving to 1,000 meters underwater where we just can't go. We can attach things like biologgers to them to study their behavior and to actually measure the environment around them, to measure things like ecology and physiology that can help us sort of piece together that puzzle.
Oh my goodness, yes, a puzzle sounds right. And that's amazing. So you said earlier that you spent some time in Antarctica, and it seems like these UC Santa Cruz researchers and faculty members are just so well traveled, and you are not the exception, right? So you were in Antarctica and you were studying Weddell seals, is that correct?
That's
so
right.
what were you studying there? Because Antarctica just seems like this far away moonscape place where nothing lives, but according to you, that is not the case.
Yeah, it's a pretty vibrant world down there. It's incredible. You get off the plane there and it's just dead quiet. I mean, you can hear your heart beating in your ears. It's just it's an out of this world experience. But then you look at the animals there and you see how incredible they are, how many adaptations they have to be able to survive the cold and, the 4 months of constant sunlight during the summer and then the 4 months of constant darkness during the winter. And it's just so easy to completely fall in love with them and their natural history. I was down there with my PhD advisor trying to figure out how Weddell seals, which are the southernmost mammal on the planet, so they live in the most extreme environments, and they have the most constraints imposed upon them in terms of, for example, fitting all of their important life history events like making babies and nursing those pups and molting, so replacing their skin every year, and feeding. They're trying to do all of this, in this completely extreme environment where there's not a lot of resources, at least in terms of phytoplankton, like primary productivity throughout the whole year. It's really this like concentrated resource pulse, this burst of life that happens during the summer. And this sort of like, I don't know, I want to say devoid, kind of dark place in the winter. And it's just such a dichotomy, and they manage to figure out how to live like that throughout the whole year. And part of the way that they do that is by packing on a ton of fat during the summer and during the winter. And so they can stay warm and, basically feed themselves off of that energy throughout the year. So we were interested in studying just kind of what they do year round, in the middle of winter. How deep are they diving? How much food are they getting? During the summer, how is it that they manage to squeeze in all of those super important life history events into a very, very short summer season?
Yeah, wow. It sounds like this animal just definitely lives at the extremes, which is incredible. And so how were you able to find out how deep that they dive in the ocean?
Yeah, it was amazing. We were pretty surprised. Previous studies had looked at their diving during the winter and found that they do dive really deep and kind of more off the coast. So they were diving regularly down to 800 or 900 meters, which is pretty similar to the elephant seals that we see here off the coast of California. But during the summer, they were only diving to 100 or 200 meters on average. And so we actually learned a lot about the ecology of the marine environment there, that there's sort of the resource pulse that happens during the summer is able to bring a lot of critters like zooplankton and fishes kind of closer to the surface, and that really helps the seals find food during the summer. So it's really energetically efficient for them to to feed during the summer. And that sort of might explain why they are able to gain so much mass during the summer.
Gotcha. Wow, that's incredible. And I'm so glad that you also mentioned elephant seals right here, kind of almost in our backyard, because I have so many questions about elephant seals because they're also an animal that lives at the extremes. And they just, the more and more that we find out about them, it just seems like the more questions that we have. So I have some questions for you. So I guess with elephant seals, I guess just starting with their I guess how they just give birth, right? How females give birth to pups. And so, and there's just so many questions that have been sent in about this, about like, when does a female give birth? How long does the female take care of that pup? What happens to the pup afterwards? So can you just kind of take us from like step one to what happens to pup after, what happens to the pup after it's born?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you have so many questions because I do too. I think it'll take me my whole career just to answer the questions that I have now and then some. So females come back from their long foraging trip in December or January, and during the peak breeding season when males are fighting and there's tons of animals on the beach and it's totally crazy and pouring rain, they give birth to those pups, and they sort of bond with those pups right away and take care of them for about a month. The pups gain a ton of mass. They end up being about 120 kilograms, which is something like, 300 pounds or a little bit heavier. And that's after nursing just for a month. And then what happens is those moms just take off. So basically all of the maternal care that happens is during that lactation period, and that's it. And the pups that have now become weanlings because they've weaned from their moms go and they sit on the beach. And they sit on the beach in these sort of like weanling pods where they just kind of relax. And sometimes they'll go in the water. Sometimes they'll just stay on land. And they do a lot of apneas. So they basically hold their breath and then they breathe. And then they hold their breath and they breathe. And a lot of our research in the last year or two has been trying to figure out sort of like what they're doing during that time. And what we found is that they spend a lot of time in the water, but they're not really diving. They're just sort of going in the water and coming back on land. And that happens for about 2 months. And then at that 2-month point is when they actually leave for their first trip to sea. So at that point, remember, their mom's already gone. So they have to figure out how to dive, how to navigate, how to feed completely by themselves. They're completely on their own, which is pretty crazy to me. I mean, I can tell you that I wouldn't know how to navigate. I wouldn't know how to feed myself. And I certainly wouldn't be able to hold my breath for 15 minutes during that first trip to sea. So they're pretty amazing animals.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible. So my question is, when these elephant seals, right, they go out to sea and then they don't come back until what, a couple months later? And so
yeah, it's a pretty long trip, especially that first trip to sea. They leave sometime in like April or May, and usually don't come back until December or March the following year. So it's a pretty long trip.
Wow, no kidding. And so how do these little, they wean from their mom and then they kind of figure it out to get into the ocean and then they're off. And so how do they know where to come back to, right? So they leave Año Nuevo, and then how do they know to come back to that rookery? Is there any research on that, or is that one of the questions that we're all trying to figure it out?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. It's actually my husband's expertise. So Patrick Robinson and Dan Costa for the last 15 years have been trying to sort of figure out that question, looking at navigation specifically and what sort of routes they take. We know that they're incredibly good at navigation. They come back to the same beach almost every single year without fail. And oftentimes at sea, they actually follow very similar routes and go to very similar places from year to year. And so Dan and Patrick and others have instrumented something like 500 adult female elephant seals now with satellite transmitter, little hats with antennas on them that tell us where the seals go, and some with GPS tags that give really, really precise information. And I won't give away the secrets. It's research that will probably get written up in the next few months, fingers crossed. But I can tell you that elephant seals are one of, if not the most accurate navigators on the planet. And that's something that Patrick is really excited to share with the world. So hopefully one day we'll have a a little Seymour Center exhibit about that project.
Yes, yes, that is so exciting. So Patrick, if you're listening, maybe Labside Chat is in your future. All right, that's awesome. So Roxanne, I could talk to you maybe for about, the next 4 days about elephant seals and your research in Antarctica, but we are, coming up on time, believe it or not. So I am just curious. I have a couple more questions for you. And this one came from a person. And this question is, what would you be doing if you were not a scientist? So what would be your alternate career track?
That's a really good question. I mean, probably a teacher. I love teaching so much. I think as much as I love the joy of discovery and field work and, doing math, which I've always loved, I think every single time I think about the best parts of my job and what I'm most excited for as a new faculty member is just mentoring students. Like, I just love that aha moment that students get when you teach them something they never thought they could learn, whether it's coding or, putting hair dye on an elephant seal or whatever. And that they take that forward and teach other students. It's a really, truly awesome experience to be able to pass that along to folks. So that's probably my favorite part of the job. And I think if I weren't doing science, that I would probably just want to teach full time.
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That is just so incredible. And so where can folks go online to learn more about you and your research? Do you have a website that you want to direct folks to, or any social media links? Now is your time to plug away.
Yeah, I mean, definitely www.beltranlab.com is my sort of lab website. It's small right now, but we'll have a PhD student starting in the fall and a bunch of undergrads working with us this year, and then that'll grow over the coming years. But you can get a better sense of the research that I do and some of the videos and articles and stuff from some of the outreach that our group has done. The other one that's just phenomenal is the Año Nuevo research Facebook page. And that's something that Patrick maintains. He posts photos and videos of elephant seals and the research and the data points every couple days. And it's super interesting. So I highly recommend folks go to facebook.com. I think it's facebook.com/Año Nuevo research and follow along on our adventures.
Oh, that's so great. And so I will post both of those links down in the video description so folks can easily find it. But that is so great. And I also have to make a plug for that Facebook page too, because the videos and the photos that you all post are just breathtaking. And if you haven't been to Año Nuevo before or seen an elephant seal in person, those videos are the next best thing because they showcase some of the extreme and awesome behavior of these seals. So, well, Roxanne, I can't say thank you enough for doing this with us today. It's been such a pleasure talking with you and diving a little bit into your research. And I'm so excited to follow along, just not on your website and to learn about what you continue to do in the future. I also want to say a big thank you to our viewers today. So thank you so much for tuning in and asking questions and listening to today's Labside Chat. And so it's really folks like you that make these type of online programs possible. So if you are in the position, I do ask that you consider making a donation to the Seymour Center or becoming a member with us. You can find more information on our website about those things. Our website is seymourcenter.ucsc.edu. You can also find direct links in our video description below. And so while you're there, also on our website, go ahead and sign up for our e-newsletter and stay in touch with us. You can also follow us on social media. Again, all of the links will be listed in the video description. But thank you again, everyone, for tuning in today. It's been such a great time. And make sure to tune into our next Labside Chat on Thursday, July 16th. It will be another really great conversation. And so with that, we hope that everyone is staying safe and staying healthy, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.